Hi everyone, this is Celeste, and in this video I will explain my view on the collective consciousness, so it will help you better grasp the readings that I'm going to do in the future about the collective consciousness. First, let's start with the general things, and I'm going to use a drawing to help you see this. First, let's just do a type of shape here. This blob will represent the collective consciousness. Now, we are calling it collective consciousness, but we also have a collective subconscious, conscious, unconscious, and superconscious. Usually, we do not actually differentiate between them. So when I say collective consciousness, I usually comprise all of them, and if I specifically target one of them, I will mention it. So in this collective consciousness, this shape is like an energetic soup. Inside of it, we will have different types of shapes. So we can have a vortex shape, for example. Then we can have this square, very rigid shape. We will have a sphere shape. We can have, let's see, another thing, another color, something like chaotic, like this. And we will have some currents. I will immediately explain all of the shapes. Let's just make also these types of shapes, like waves. Now, these are group of consciousnesses that also will associate with a group of people. This type of group is a spiral group. It changes, it fluxes in the type of consciousness, and it's a growing and expanding consciousness. This type is a very unified group. Inside you can have other type of rules, even if it is influenced and guided by this whole energetic soup. This type of square shape represents a rigid and stuck type of consciousness that will fight with the tides, with the cycles, that will struggle to advance, that will be like a stone, very rigid and compact. This type of group is a chaotic energy. This group will auto-consummate themselves energetically. It is an auto-destructive energy. We can also resemble it with a recycle bin. These lines here represent currents, and these lines here represent waves. So the currents are the natural movement of this energetic soup. They can be deep currents, surface currents, middle type currents, and also this type of waves. We can see them as the consequences, the waves that are at the surface of this energetic soup, that are always moving, always changing, being the consequence of what happens inside. We can also, of course, have all sorts of vortices and tourbillons and the type of energy and layers of energy. So this is like a 3D shape. Inside all of this, we also have another type of connection. This is an individual connection from individual to individual, and this type of people are connected in consciousness and they form a grid, like a web, inside all of this, creating balance and stability. So this is like a general view of our consciousness, and it is a simplified view. We will have many different types of groups in here, but just let's keep it simple for now. Now, in this collective consciousness, we have these currents and the waves. Let's talk about the currents a bit more. These currents are guiding currents. They are created by the movement of our entire consciousness and are guided by us, by all of the groups inside, by all of the type of connections we make, by all of the fractals we create. And they do not just appear, they are guided by us as a collective. They are not really guided by a single individual, but they can be influenced by a single individual. Now, a single individual will not be able to change the direction of an entire current, but will be able to influence the way people inside this current react to the energy, and so be able to influence the tides by influencing the people. We have cyclical tides as our consciousness passes through cycles of growth. So these currents, some of them, not all of them, are cyclical. They come and go in a cyclical pattern. Let's go now and see how are we influenced as an individual. Well, let's take just this little star here and we will resemble it with an individual. This individual here will be a part either of a group, like in here, let's make another one here, or here, or here, or it will be just part of this grid. Here we have also individuals inside. Firstly, it will be influenced by the group that he is in and how that group functions inside the collective consciousness. We see that here we do not have a uniform soup of everything mixed together all the same. We have unique groups and unique individuals which are trying to move themselves in a harmonious way. So firstly, as an individual, we are influenced directly by the group of consciousness. So this is not like a map and with places. This is energy and consciousness. So firstly, where we are directly influenced by the consciousness group. Let's just do one here, to which we resonate more, with which we resonate more. And this consciousness group will be our support group, even if these people here are not in our neighborhood, even if these people in this group of resonance and energy are across the sea in another continent. It is our supporting group which helps and nourishes us, and we them. We contribute in the growth of this group by what we do. We can, of course, leave the group and go into another group, grow out of the group, be rejected at one moment because we also would like to leave. We are not stuck inside the soup. We are free to move and grow and experience. The tides influence everyone, especially those that are cyclical. So we as an individual will be influenced directly by these tides, but we will most feel it in our subconscious and unconscious, since these tides for most people are not even in the first conscious zone, let's say so. They are not even in the back of their heads. So they will be influenced without a doubt. Everyone is influenced by these cycles, but each of us will react and will respond in a different way. We have this choice of how to respond to these cyclical tides or the temporary tides. Let's call this one a temporary tide. I'm just gonna make it like this. When the whole consciousness is influenced to create a really big tide, everything moves, but it will move into finding and searching a new state of equilibrium inside with all of the groups. We as an individual, we may think that these tides are destiny, that we cannot escape them, that are meant to be, that are there to be experienced, and it is so. But we are not tied by them. We can move everywhere inside this energetic soup, and we can ride these currents in any way we desire. And we are able to do at that moment, of course. So when a tide like this, temporary or cyclical, comes and moves us, we may feel moved by an individual, by an invisible force. We will feel pushed if we resist by this force. And we will go along, but we can go along in different ways, and we can have totally different experience of that current than another individual. This is how we are unique and how we can apply our free will. As an individual pertaining to a group, we are also influenced by the other groups around us and by the tides we create together. It is difficult to escape a tide if the groups around us push us in that direction. So we must continually adapt and understand where we are in consciousness, who are the groups that are most influencing us and why. Let's stop here to not get this too complicated, and let's explain how will this be seen in a reading. So when doing a reading about the collective consciousness, we will see things from here, from above, connecting with the soup and seeing everything as a general view. We will usually follow these cycles and energetic movement to understand, for example, the current theme or the current shadow that we as a whole are experiencing, and we will see these waves, so the consequences and the understanding of how the consciousness as a whole perceives this lesson. And we can also see some type of direction. A theme that is experienced by the collective consciousness will also be experienced by us in a certain manner, depending on how we react to it, how we integrate, how we adapt. When I talk about we in the readings, I am referring to the collective consciousness, but not only. Most of the times, I will also refer to my collective consciousness group, which I represent. And of course, I will be talking about the others, but the focus that I will be talking about, for example, will be for the consciousness group I am a part of and those that resonate with that consciousness group. A reading about the collective consciousness helps us understand these tides that drive us in our unconscious and subconscious, and understanding how to position ourselves in this whole energetic soup. We can also draw a lot of wisdom and understanding about what's happening in the world, being able to better adapt to the events happening. So the perspectives we're gonna analyze in the collective consciousness readings affect us all in a certain manner, and each of us will have its own response to that information. So let's just stop here. See you at the collective consciousness readings. Hugs, everyone.